Captain America the Winter Soldier. I got this film a few days ago. I watched it yesterday. This is probably the riskiest, ballsiest, darkest, and arguably the best story-wise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, most of the Marvel movies have been pretty fun. They've had their intense moments, of course. I mean, Iron Man's had the Iron Man movie. Well, the first Iron Man film has had some really good moments. Incredible Hulk had some great moments. Thor, the 2011 Captain America, Avengers, of course. You know, all of them have their good moments. But this one really changes a lot of what you think of in terms of the Marvel movies. Now, some may say this is a good thing. Some may say this is a bad thing. I think this is an example of Marvel taking a risk and it working to their advantage, unlike Iron Man 3, where I felt they took a stupid risk and it just didn't work in their favor. They took a chance and it was really kind of stupid and insulting. This one really renews my faith in the Phase 2 series. Well, actually, I did like Thor the Dark World, but Thor the Dark World is no Captain America the Winter Soldier. This is like the first Marvel sequel in a while that gave me the feeling of like Spider-Man 2. It's the first Marvel sequel where I can compare it to Spider-Man 2 and say, like Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, where I can say this is the best Marvel sequel since Spider-Man 2. They have recaptured that glory, that epicness, that intense action scenes, the practical effects, the scale, the intensity of the story that Spider-Man 2 had. This movie gives me that. And it also gave me a feeling of a great James Bond movie and also a good spy thriller like Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This I gotta rewatch, but yeah, like if you love these, like the Mission Impossible movies, if you're a fan of the James Bond films, these are only a handful of them I picked out over some of the ones I really enjoyed, you know. But if I'm gonna compare this to a Bond film, then I have to pull out like the era in which it gave me that feeling of. It gave me a feeling of the early Pierce Brosnan films. This one, while not as good as GoldenEye, is still a solid film. And Casino Royale and Skyfall in terms of the intensity of where shit got real. But if I was going to compare it, while I could easily compare it to the Daniel Craig Bond films, I think, interestingly enough, it would be better to compare it to the first Brosnan one, GoldenEye. This one was probably the most in-depth in terms of the James Bond films. Well, one of the most in-depth in terms of character development, in terms of exploring the character of Bond, exploring his emotions, exploring his relationships with his friends, and how it kind of poked fun at the Bond films, but also respected it and gave it a modern, grittier, gave it a modern edge that felt intense and suspenseful and a great thrill ride with some of the best action scenes in the entire franchise. And Brosnan in this film was just bloody fantastic. It's very much like with this film, where it's the most intense of its series and the most ballsy. And also, in terms of its darker, grittier tone, like Casino Royale, this film just works in its favor. The whole thing with like showing Captain America in modern times, you're obviously going to show that in the sequel. You expect that. You expect the Winter Soldier. You've read the comics. You know it's going to be Bucky. That I expected, and I knew I was going to get that. And I also got the feeling, like I said, I expected a good spy thriller, which I did. I got a great spy thriller, something where I can compare this to some of the best James Bond films, or the Mission Impossible movies, or or other action thrillers like the first Rambo film, the first Die Hard movie. I can compare it to those great action films, and it really went with the practical stunt work and effects, and I really appreciate and respect that the two directors were like, we just want to kind of go, we're going to use the new technology, but we're going to kind of go back to the old school, like kind of 80s action. There is some shaky cam, but you could say that's handheld, but while there is the handheld camera work doesn't really, kind of annoyed me, ironic enough considering the fact that I really liked Man of Steel, but hey. But the action scenes were great. When they are great, they are fucking great. Black Widow kicks a lot of ass, Captain America kicks a lot of ass, and the movie, the first half of the film just has this shit can go anywhere, where Black Widow and Captain America are uncovering more mystery behind S.H.I.E.L.D. and the formation of S.H.I.E.L.D. and how S.H.I.E.L.D. was basically Hydra this whole time, and how Hydra's goal was to control people, was to control their freedom, and how basically our society has reflected that. And they're like, we caused so much chaos, we did this, we did that, you know, to the point where Nick Fury was blindsided by Robert Redford's character. And it's just, holy shit, when you hear that, it's so goddamn mind-blowing. It's like, it's the Empire, it's the Luke, I am your father moment, and it really makes you think about every Marvel movie, although all the way through, it really makes you look back at Phase 1, and makes you look back at the first two phases, makes you look back at Iron Man 3 and Thor the Dark, well, more of Iron Man 3 than anything else, kind of explaining why S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't really help Iron Man. In fact, you're wondering, was Hydra really behind trying to kill Tony Stark? Because in the Avengers, Iron Man was kind of a threat to S.H.I.E.L.D., so were they working with Killian? Were they trying to work, were they the ones working with this extremist shit? You know, were they working with AIM? You know what I mean? It answers a lot of questions, and also at the same time raises so many questions about the previous films in the franchise and where this is going to go, because there is no more S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is dead. And Black Widow's like basically gone from S.H.I.E.L.D. She's gonna find a new life. How often is she going to return? What are we gonna see for Black Widow? What are we gonna see for Nick Fury? What are we going to see for Cap? What does this mean for the cinematic universe? And of course, the fight scenes between, you know, Black Widow just kicking tons of ass, Falcon being a real badass character. I love the Falcon. I think the camaraderie between Captain America and the Falcon was just done so well and really brilliantly done in this flick. And just not to mention, of course, how could I forget the brilliant camaraderie between Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans, the chemistry where you really buy that these two are friends, they bust on each other. I like the dialogue they gave Black Widow. I thought it was appropriate, showing that she had a sense of humor to her, showing that she was like a bit of a smart ass, and how Chris Evans was like really questioning what he was doing. Just showing how the Marvel Cinematic Universe can go, that yes, we can take risks, yes, we can do practical action scenes still, yes, everything doesn't have to be a CGI mess, there can be a balance between CGI and practical effects. There is a demand, there is this proof that practical effects can still make big bucks, and this movie I think could possibly push hopefully this movie will push other studios to say, hey, you can do practical action scenes. You can do grittiness. You can do intense action. You can take risks, and they will work to your favor. And I hope this film just paves a new way for superhero movies. And I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with the Avengers 2 and Phase 3 after this film. They're saying they might do Civil War. I'm curious to see how the cinematic universe is going to handle that. So, What's my final verdict on The Winter Soldier? Well, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Robert Redford, Samuel L. Jackson, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian, what the fuck, I forgot this guy's name. They don't tell you his fucking name. The dude who played the Winter Soldier. All of them work together so well. This is clearly the best superhero movie of the year. Probably one of the best Marvel films of all time. Arguably better than the Avengers in terms of what was happening story-wise. And showing and pushing superhero movies in a different way than The Dark Knight or V for Vendetta did. So, 10 out of 10 movie. Blu-ray's out. Buy it on Amazon. Get the Blu-ray, get the DVD, get the download. Support this film officially. It deserves your money. Live long and prosper and have a fantastic day.